How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another Cyberpunk 2077 video. Now for today's video, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 weapons in all of Cyberpunk. Now this list is based off of my personal opinion. Obviously, every single person's game is going to play differently than one another's. If you decide to put a lot of perk points into shotguns, then obviously your shotguns are going to do more damage. If you decide to put points into auto rifles, then your auto rifles are going to do more damage. And I think you guys get the picture. So this list is based on a number of different factors. The first factor is how good the weapon is without any perks put into any of the trees. Because I originally played this game on the Xbox One, and then I recently made the switch to PC. So I spawned all these weapons in, and I've been experimenting with all of them, and I haven't put any points into any of the perk trees that could affect the weapon's damage output in any way, shape, or form. So all the weapons in this list are going off of the base stats. And then the second factor in this list is just how fun is the weapon to use. Because honestly, that's probably the most important factor, because you can make any weapon in this game really powerful depending on what perks you use. So if a weapon is just really fun to use without having any perks, then that definitely gets some points on my end. So getting into this list, the first weapon on this list is the legendary iconic sniper rifle called Overwatch. Its iconic perk says that it increases its reload speed, and it comes with a custom silencer. And then the description says a sniper rifle that belonged to Pan Am, increased reload speed and lethal accuracy, a rifle you can count on. So I really enjoy this sniper rifle compared to other variations of the sniper rifle. And I think the main reason this one's so good is because of that silencer. You actually can't put silencers on these sniper rifles. This is the only one that has a silencer. And having a silent sniper rifle is extremely useful. You can clear entire areas without even being seen, especially if you can hit your headshots and you can get that extra bonus damage. You can just one hit kill people. And another perk that this sniper rifle has over other variations of the same sniper rifle is that this one you can actually fire 4 times instead of 3 times without having to reload, and that extra bullet can really go a long way. That in combination with that faster reload speed, overall this sniper rifle is just a beast. Absolutely love it, highly recommend it. I think it's a must-have for everybody. And then up next at number 9, we have Comrade's hammer. It's a legendary iconic tech revolver. Its description says it's powered by revolutionary fervor, and its iconic perk description says a modified clip contains only a single bullet laden with explosive material that wreaks havoc at the point of impact. Reloading this monster requires additional time. So this pistol is an absolute monster. It will one-hit kill people pretty much every single time. If you have any points put into the pistol tree, it just makes it even better. Although honestly, it doesn't even need to be that much better. If you get a headshot with this pistol, you're going to pretty much kill anybody. And this pistol is so unbelievably powerful. You can even get double or triple kills with it. If a lot of enemies are standing next to each other, it'll just kill all of them with the same bullet. So this pistol is extremely fun to use, but the reason I'm putting it so low on this list is because it's too good. It's fun to pull out on occasion just to do a lot of damage to people, but after a while it gets a little bit boring and repetitive when you're just insta-killing everyone you come across. It kind of takes the challenge out of the game. So it's a double-edged sword. It's really fun to use, it's really powerful, but at the same time you feel like One Punch Man, and when nothing's a challenge for you anymore, you kind of feel like, what's the point? But it's a really good pistol, it's pretty fun, and I recommend you guys check it out. So next up we have another pistol on this list. This one is called Doom. It's known for turning enemies into unrecognizable piles of flesh. Warning, requires extensive cleanup afterwards. And then the iconic perk description says fires 4 rounds per shot, increases damage, rate of fire, and the chance to dismember at the cost of increased recoil and bullet spread. Highly dangerous, highly messy. So this power revolver is basically a mini shotgun. It fires 4 rounds per shot and it will tear through things. Now it doesn't one-shot insta-kill like the Comrade's hammer. You actually have to fire this thing a couple times, but it will absolutely melt through stuff like butter. I really like the idea of having a pistol shotgun. Something just feels right about this weapon. It's got a little bit further range than a typical shotgun, but it still packs just as hard as a shotgun. This thing is probably better than most shotguns you're gonna find. So if you have a lot of perk points put into pistols and you don't really have any points invested into your shotguns, this is a great option for you guys to have. Highly recommend it. Super fun to use and just all around a great weapon. So next up is the Satori legendary iconic katana sword. Property of Saburo Arasaka, it's a unique katana forged at the first half of the 20th century that hasn't dueled a day. So it is super sharp, and its iconic perk says it reduces base damage but increases critical damage significantly. So the version I have says its crit damage is 529%. and that's without putting any perks into it. So I've never really used melee weapons too much in this game so far. I've played around a little bit, but the reason this one's making the list is just because it's so freaking fun. Now it does have that reduced base damage, so if the crits don't proc, you're not going to do as much damage, but I've never really had any trouble getting crits to proc on this weapon, and the swing speed is so fast, it just absolutely shreds anyone that comes in contact with this sword. If you guys have a sword build, I definitely recommend this weapon. It is super fun to use. I think it's the best sword in the game so far out of all the ones I tested out, and I'm highly considering just building an entire character based around melee combat and using this sword as my primary weapon. I think it's a great weapon, and that's why it's at number 7. So up next we have a legendary iconic shotgun called Sovereign. It says become the king of the hunt. The iconic perk says that it reduces the reload time and the bullet spread. Fire 2 rounds per shot while aiming. So if you're not aiming down sights, you will fire 1 shot at a time, and then if you zoom in, you will do even more damage firing both barrels simultaneously. So this thing will absolutely wreck people if you get up close, and it's super fun to use. I was never really a fan of shotguns in this game in my first playthrough, but once I discovered this thing, I started using it all the time. If you get up close and personal, then this thing is a must-have. It is super fun to blow limbs off with this thing, just blowing people's heads to pieces, blowing their arms or their legs off. This shotgun will just absolutely bully your enemies. I think it's easily one of the best shotguns in the game, and it's a must-have for shotgun lovers. So next up we have the Fenrir legendary iconic submachine gun. It says it belches fire like a dragon with heartburn, and its iconic perk states that it deals thermal damage with an increased chance to apply burn, reduces bullet spread, and increases bullet impact at the cost of higher recoil. So I have a little bit of a soft spot for this weapon because I got it early on in my first playthrough and it stuck with me through most of the game. I just kept upgrading this weapon as I was playing, and it is so good. It has such a high chance of catching your opponents on fire. Pretty much anyone you shoot is going to catch on fire. This thing is great for dealing damage and then hiding to take cover to heal yourself, because once you catch your enemies on fire, they're going to keep taking damage as you're sitting there trying to heal. Even though it says that it has a cost of higher recoil, I haven't really noticed it having much recoil. I think it's pretty manageable, especially if you put a silencer on this thing. This is one of my favorite guns in the entire game. Like I said, I carried it through most of my playthrough. It is a beast, especially if you guys love submachine guns. The high rate of fire combined with burn damage is just a must-have. It's super fun to use, and that's why I'm putting it at number 5. So next up we have the Archangel power revolver. It says it's a piece of art that should never waste away in a display case. Its iconic perk says it deals electrical damage with a chance to apply stun and has significantly reduced recoil, an angel of a weapon with a devil's attitude. So if you guys are like me and you like revolvers, this is a monster. I mean, this thing's a beast. That electric damage combined with the crit damage and the 2x headshot multiplier just makes this thing an overall beast. I personally like to put a silencer on it. In my first playthrough, I put a lot of my points into pistols. So this thing combined with all the perks and a silencer, I was going around and I was basically an assassin. I would just one-shot kill people in the head and nobody would know I was there. I would wipe out entire warehouses of enemies without being detected. The only downside is, you know, it is a revolver. It only comes with 6 bullets before you have to reload, so that kind of sucks. But overall, if you guys like revolvers, I think this is one of the best ones in the game. It just feels really good to use. It doesn't have too bad a recoil. It's extremely accurate. I think it's super fun. I think it's a must-have. I've killed many enemies with this weapon, and that's why it's at number 4. So next up at number 3, we have the Maloran Arms 3516. So this is Johnny Silverhand's weapon. It is extremely rare. There is only one of these in the entire game. It's custom made for Johnny Silverhand. The guy had taste. Now this weapon actually doesn't even have an iconic weapon description. It doesn't say that it comes with any additional perks, but this weapon actually has a fire melee attack. So if you get up close and personal to an enemy, you can hit the melee button and you will catch them on fire. So that's really cool. Not to mention that this thing kicks like a horse. It is extremely powerful. It's just really fun to use. It's extremely accurate. You just feel extremely powerful when you shoot this thing. They really did a great job designing this weapon. I do wish that once you unlocked it, you could craft more of them though. That way you don't have to waste all your resources on upgrading this thing. Because if you get this weapon early on and then you try to do a lot of side missions and stuff, this weapon does kind of get left behind in your late playthroughs. Because compared to all the other weapons, as you upgrade them and as you craft them, they scale to the player. And this weapon, you have to physically upgrade it, and it takes way more resources the more you upgrade this thing. So it is really, really costly to maintain this weapon if you want to keep using it. But for the most part, it's really fun, it's really enjoyable, and I think most people would enjoy using this weapon. So next up on this list at number 2, we have Death and Taxes. I think the original quote came from Ben Franklin, where he said, "But in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes," which goes along perfectly with the description of this weapon, where it says, "In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except victory when you have this gun in your hands." The iconic perk says it deals electrical damage and splits bullets into 2, increasing the chance to hit the target. So this pistol's dirty. I mean, shooting 2 bullets at once is extremely good. It's so fun to use, especially if you have the cyberware equipped to increase your ricochet chances. Having increased odds of your bullets ricocheting with 2 bullets at the same time is just extremely good. I really like the feel of these pistols in general. Anytime I come across these pistols in the game, I normally use it anyway. So having a version that can shoot 2 bullets at the same time, that in combination with it being extremely accurate, just makes this thing an absolute beast. You can fire it 10 times before you reload, so it's got that slight advantage over the revolver. But since this thing shoots 2 bullets at the same time, you're essentially shooting 20 bullets instead of 10. And this thing just absolutely melts people. It's amazing. Highly recommend it. It's a must-have for everyone, even if you aren't a fan of pistols. It's just a really good weapon. It won't let you down, and it's a lot of fun. So then I decided to include 2 honorable mentions, which is the Mox shotgun and the Bazing Chong shotgun. Now the Bazing Chong is the only smart weapon that made this list. I'm not against smart weapons, I just don't like them as much as the other weapons on this list. But this shotgun is absolutely amazing. Something's just super satisfying about this weapon, where when you lock onto your enemies and you fire off the shotgun round and you see all the rounds track to their target at the same time, it's just super cool. It's super satisfying to see critical pop up on screen every time you shoot the enemies, and it's just extremely deadly. Really good shotgun to have. Highly recommend it. And then the Mock shotgun is also extremely good. It has a similar perk to the Sovereign shotgun, where the perk activates if you zoom in. If you zoom in, you reduce the spread to give you a little bit more range. And then if you fire the weapon without zooming in, it has a wider spread and acts more like a shotgun. The only reason this shotgun didn't make it higher on the list is that it can only hold 4 shots before having to reload. You find yourself reloading this weapon all the time, and it's kind of annoying. But other than that, I think it's a pretty good weapon. And then to finish off this list, at number 1, we have the SOM 11-6. Now this is a power assault rifle, and this thing just feels perfect in every regard. The description says, "Let him rain coals on the wicked, fire and sulfur, and a scorching wind shall be the portion of their cup." And then the iconic weapon description says, "Pure hellfire, this gun deals additional thermal damage, greatly increasing the chance to burn." So this weapon is pretty similar to the Fenrir submachine gun, but in auto rifle form. And to me, this just feels like a better version. Like I said earlier, the Fenrir was one of my favorite weapons in the entire game, and I carried it for most of my playthrough. But once I discovered this auto rifle, and I found out that it does basically the same thing by catching all my enemies on fire, and it has an even better recoil, I instantly fell in love with this weapon. Now, I personally like to put a silencer on it because I just like to be sneaky and stuff. And if you have that one perk, you can do extra damage from stealth. So I just absolutely love this weapon. It feels super smooth when you fire it, and just something about this weapon just feels right. If you guys are a fan of the assault rifles, I think this is the best one in the game. This thing is amazing. It's got pretty decent range, so you can hit people at pretty far distances. It's got a really good recoil, so it's not going to get away from you. Now, looking at its base stats, it doesn't seem to have the best stats in the world. With only a 3.80 crit chance and a 1.05 headshot multiplier, it doesn't look like it's that good on paper compared to a lot of these other weapons, but I don't know how else to describe it. This weapon just feels perfect. I think it performs way better in actual combat compared to what it looks like on paper, and I can't speak highly enough about this weapon. I use this thing all the time. It looks cool, it sounds cool, it's satisfying to get kills with it, and out of all the weapons I've used in Cyberpunk, this one is my favorite. So that is going to do it for this list, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Did your favorite weapon in Cyberpunk make my top 10 list? And then I know some of you guys are going to ask where some of these weapons can be found. I've already made a couple videos on this channel showcasing where you guys can get most of these weapons. So if you guys want to find a lot of these weapons that are on this list, I will leave those videos linked at the end. But that is going to do it for me, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications. Follow me on Twitch at SwanyPlaysGames Live, and be sure to join the channel's Discord. And that is going to do it for me, and I will talk to you all in the next video.